Good morning. I am Lachey Hawkins from the Powder Room Show and the creator and founder of Mom Talk Network. Now, this session is called the Truth Corner. And what the Truth Corner is a little bit about my testimony and also some advice that I went through personally that I would love to share with you guys. So stay tuned. I think you're going to love it. Today's topic on the Truth Corner is my authentic self. Being my authentic self. What does that mean? Well, personally, I thought it was very important for me to learn about just myself overall. A lot of times when people go through things, they're not really themselves. They allow people to tell them who they are. They allow other people's perceptions to they actually live through other people's perceptions of who they really are. So for me, my authentic self is somebody that I genuinely love at this moment. I say that because I feel free, I'm happy, I'm enjoying life because guess what? I'm not ashamed of being who I am. Whatever God made me to be as far as my character, your personality, I have a crazy sense of humor. I love to laugh, but I'm corny at the same time, if that makes sense. Like the smallest and the littlest things are hilarious to me. And then a little bit of dry sense of humor, if you can kind of tangle that in a little bit. But being my authentic self was something that I just had to get back to. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't ashamed of being me, first of all. I wanted to also make sure that my authentic self was not something bad. It wasn't something negative. It wasn't something that I shouldn't be because of people not even liking who I authentically am. And I feel like a lot of women, especially when you go through a breakup or a divorce, you're trying to figure out who you are again. And once I went through my divorce, it took me a minute to kind of figure out who I was. And because of the abuse I was dealing with, the emotional abuse and all the depression I was dealing with. So getting back to my authentic self was very important. So if I can encourage any woman out there, just remember, like, you know who you are. You know what you like. You know what things that kind of turn your stomach. You know what things that you want to stay away from. You know what things that makes you happy, that makes you smile. And also you ultimately know your personality. One thing that I was told going through the divorce and the family that I was dealing with was that I was very mean, that I was very it's almost like I had that like mad black woman like title. And that just was not me. And because I was told that all the time, I started to actually believe that that was who I was. So the attitudes start coming out, and the negative about just myself start coming out. The insecurities start coming out even more so. And it just wasn't who I was. I never was an insecure woman, but when you have a bunch of people around you who are supposed to, one, support you, but they're doing the opposite, you start to believe those things. And then therefore, they realize that you're not being your authentic self. So one of the things I had to do is really just take a step back and figure out like what kind of things I like to do. One thing I like to do is, well, first of all, like I told you guys, I'm very goofy. So one of my things I like to do, I love movies. I love to watch anything that makes me laugh or read anything that makes me laugh. Like anything that makes me happy, that's what I like to do. And most of the time, anything with some kind of sense of humor, that's what makes me happy. So getting back to that, because it was a dark place for me where I wasn't smiling a lot. I wasn't laughing a lot. The simplest things that would make me happy didn't make me happy at one point. And I knew that wasn't me because the simple things makes me happy, right? So I feel like when it comes to just you, just know and stand firm of who you are. You know who you are. Don't allow anybody to tell you that you're not this person when you are. You know that you're smart. I feel like what is that on the help? You was kind, you was important, you was beautiful. It's like, you know who you are. Do not be afraid to be your authentic self. Because guess what? When you're authentic, trust and believe the right people are gonna love your authentic personality where you don't have to pretend anymore. And those are the people that you want to keep yourself around, where you don't have to feel like you have to be somebody that you're not. One thing about being your authentic self is not allowing yourself to fall into the peer pressure. Oftentimes people think peer pressure only is with children or teenagers, but adults deal with peer pressure as well. And part of that can actually deter you from being your authentic self. So if I can encourage anybody to not fall into the peer pressures of adulthood and just be true to you. At the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're living in your own shoes and no one else's. Do not fall into peer pressure, because guess what? Peer pressure is not, what is it gonna do? Make you do something else that you're not supposed to be doing? Walk in what you're supposed to be walking in. So the takeaway from this, my authentic self, is make sure, one, know who you are and stand firm unapologetically. Don't apologize for who you are. If you're a writer, if you play sports, if you're a woman of God, do not apologize from who you are. The word of God says that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. So I take that personal, and I believe that God made me his own image, right? So he made me the way he was supposed to make me. So however my character is, my personality, of course, that's who I am. So for one, going back to number one, don't be ashamed of who you are. Number two, stand firm in that. Be confident in your authentic self. Number three, make sure that you surround yourself with the right people who appreciate who you are. Do not deviate from being with people just to have friends or just to be popular. Make sure you know that the people around you support you of who you are and not somebody you're trying to be with. So that's one thing I make sure, like, my little circle has gotten smaller and smaller and smaller, because guess what? I want people who love the Shay, the person who I was born to be, the person that I walk in, the person that I am today. So make sure your circle is of those people and not people who want to see something different inside of you, who's not accepting your authentic self. And number four, just like at the end of the day, who cares? Do what makes you happy. Do the things that you know you are called to do, and don't be ashamed to just be the corny cornball that you are. It's not gonna hurt anybody, right? So if anything, I just wanna encourage you guys, and remember who your authentic self is. And lastly, make sure you think it, you do it, and you be it. Love you guys.